Hello, 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 my beautiful, powerful CEOs of the world. Own it, because that is what you are, or you wouldn't be listening to this show and doing all the crazy things that you're doing to try and get your business going. So, welcome to another episode of the Startup Stories podcast, where new female business owners, just like beautiful you, are heard, held, and ooh, baby, are you served. We bring you relatable stories to keep you sane, grounded, and growing business-wise and spiritual expansion-wise as you deliver your purpose and grow your business. Today, I am joined by Virginia Muzquiz of Master Connector, a business based on fueling your passions to fund your dreams around referrals and finding your people to buy and sell with and serve. Virginia is known as the Referral Diva. She is passionate about empowering purpose-driven entrepreneurs, which is all of you beautiful listeners, to grow their business and fund their dreams. And she'll take you into the how, the actual how, because that all sounds so fluffy and wonderful, but we need the actions to do it. And Virginia is a master at breaking it down into the day-to-day interactions that you're having. She's the founder and CEO of Master Connectors, a company that helps entrepreneurs and small business owners generate consistent cash flow by filling their sales filling their sales funnels with high quality referrals. You can have quantity, but it's not the same as quality. She's developed a proprietary referrals on demand process, and clients that work with Virginia are consistently earning six-figure incomes with time freedom to enjoy it. So that just all sounds like all the dreams coming true, but there's real work behind it that we're going to get into.
Biggest bunch of BS on the planet. When I hear it, I'm like, wow.
And it's a little like AI, this, that, but I already know your heart and I already know your spirit and your fire, even just from seeing your website. So you guys go and jump onto her website after the show and take a look, because some of the language there is so much more relatable, and you'll start to see what all of this actually means. So Virginia, just welcome to the show. We're gonna have
Thanks,
such a
podcasting is one of my favorite mediums, right? Because whether you're a guest or you host, you get to meet the coolest people, right? And
Yeah,
that's what it's really all about, is just getting to know cool people.
And having incredible conversations where we get these, moments of insight, and then we get to give and receive in the conversations too. And it's just fun because it's just so unscripted.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. And I already love you. So tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, who you serve, and why.
Every time anybody asks me that question, I want to break into a song and I want to be like,
okay.
I was a young warthog. Well, first of all, I think probably the most interesting thing about me is that I'm a Jersey girl raised by Midwestern parents, transplanted to the Midwest. Okay. So I'm multilingual. I speak Spanish, Jersey girl, hood, and proper Midwestern. So
what are we going to get today? A little bit of everything?
A little bit of both. Depends on how riled you get me. When I get going, the Jersey girl just, shop at the mall, So, but one of the characteristics of that, I think, is that I have Midwestern heart and Midwestern manners. So I'm a well-mannered coach. I'm not somebody who's going to, like, I don't tear people down, and I'm not like Jeffrey Gitmer or Suzanne Evans or whatever. They're great people and I love them. Like, they're my friends. I love them, but that's kind of not my style. But I am direct. So I think I'm a little bit like a female Gary Vaynerchuk with a little bit of a like a softer Midwestern flair, but it's sort of that East Coast, like, call a spade, but I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I really am trying to let you know that for what you're saying you want to do, your actions aren't backing up your words. And I want to see congruence between those things. Maya Angelou was really clear. She said, people show you who they are, believe them. So look in the mirror and look at your actions, and that will tell you who you are. And if you don't like who that is, then change your actions. And I think that's a really big part of what I do. I've been a salesperson my whole life. I was like the top brown with the Girl Scout cookie thing. And when we sold band chocolate bars, I always sold the most chocolate bars. And so I've always been able to explain, not like, will you buy a chocolate bar to help the band? I was always able to explain why you wanted this chocolate bar and what this chocolate bar might actually be for you. And oh, you don't, this isn't for you. Who could you bless in your family with this great chocolate bar, right? Like I've always been able to
take it deeper,
to dig that a little deeper. So I don't sell the pen, I sell the value of the pen. I sell what is the pen for. Always been good at that. Sold Mary Kay for a while. That is my direct sales epic fail story.
Okay.
Listen to that on the Badass Direct Sales Mastery podcast. Great episode.
Okay.
And then I worked for a Sylvan Learning Center, which is where I built up my need for creating a business by referral, because we worked in a place, like we were working in the urban city environments and out in the kind of the really distressed lower income places where no amount of social media advertising, clicking, TikToking, which didn't even exist when I was doing that. It was early 2000s. None of that was going to work. The only way that you could sell your program was to get in good with somebody who would get the parents to sign their kids up with you.
Mm-hmm.
And we were outsiders. And I was able over the course of 5 years to go from $0 in educational revenue. The guy who owned these franchises could not crack the nut, hired me to do it. And by year 6, we were doing $250,000
Mm-hmm.
in revenue, but we did it all by word of mouth and referral, and all through community building, philanthropy, and relationship. I was approached by the owners of a Business Network International franchise locally, and they said, could you teach our members how to do that? And that was when Master Connectors was born. I said, yeah, sure. And that was when I opened up my company, and they funded me for a little bit, and then I paid them back, and the rest is history.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So in exploring opportunities based on natural skills over time, experimenting, you found very distinct clarity and ran with it and recognized what your skills were, mastered them, and then was able to leverage off of that and build something for yourself now.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
So the journey has to be the journey to get to those points. So again, super important point. There are no shortcuts. There are no quick fix or like magic portals that we jump through. So if you listener want to get there, whatever you're feeling right now, whether it's positive or negative, you have to just keep showing up. And this is the test of commitment to what it is that you want.
For sure. And, entrepreneurship, in my experience, is not for the faint of heart. And like a lot of people feel like if I have success, it's like I've arrived, but you haven't arrived. Those moments can be kind of fleeting, and you can, it can slip. I've known lots of people that have had $1 million years and then sat in a mastermind with me and cried that they couldn't repeat it because they didn't build it. And they're like, I just didn't build the infrastructure. And I said, no, you didn't build the human being. You didn't build the leader. So the business got in front of you, and the business got so far in front of you that you couldn't catch up as a human, as a leader, to build that, right? So we have to build our emotional muscle. We have to build our personal skill sets. We have to build discipline. We have to build focus. We have to build resilience. And those things, I had somebody say to me, well, I'm just going to do this until I'm going to sit back and like read books or take classes until I feel confident. And I said, when you were learning to walk, you did not observe people walking and wait until you were confident that you could do it to start walking. You were like, I am really motivated to get my butt from here to there without waiting for mommy to drag me. So I'm going to get up and I'm going to try. And you fell over and you fell over and you fell over. And one day you figured it out. And some kids figure it out fast and some kids figure it out slow. But for the most part, most kids figure it out. Same thing with like potty training, right? I had a doctor say to me, he said, I assure you, they're not going to college in diapers, right? Like, they'll figure it out, right? It was the same thing with nursing. Like one day they're not going to ask you for that. They're going to be like, none of my friends are asking my mom for it. So I'll just stop asking my mom. That's weird. Like you catch a lot from your environment. And so you just have to be careful about the environment that you put yourself in, because you are going to catch that. So if you're hanging around with people that are struggling and they're not growing and they're not resilient, then you too will stay in a space of non-resilience. And so there's so much to entrepreneurship, right? And it's why we want to have mentors. It's why we want to have coaches. It's why we want to have masterminds. It's why we want to network up to be able to do that. Because honestly, I mean, you asked me before we got on, you're like, so are you a 6-figure, a 7-figure? And I was like, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Right. I mean, it can be a roller coaster ride. Stuff happens.
Yeah. And then life happens with it. And if that's what you define yourself by or market yourself off of, you're going to have holes in it. Right. And a big piece of what I'm coming to now, because I wanted to chase the so-called online entrepreneurial dream. I have a day job. And now I'm just really settling into another level of my self-development where I'm really having fun at work. I'm having a lot of fun online, and I'm not attached to replacing the income. I would love to have a few less hours at the job so I could have a few more hours online, but it's not like a one or the other. And I also don't necessarily want to make like $100,000 a day or a month,
Right.
It's just not something that I need to achieve. So settling into what it is that you do want, clarity around yourself and what the capacity that you actually want to do, because in some of your stories you were sharing that a lot of people, like even those millionaires in the mastermind, build something up and then it turns out it's not what they actually want. So what I'm hearing from you is to have the tenacity of entrepreneurship. It's got to be about the passion and the use of your gifts and service to have longevity in order to build all those other things and make it worthwhile.
And everything's a discovery, Mia. It's like, so when the world went online, okay, I was like, all right, I was sort of hyper local and I was hosting events and I was doing the T. Harv Eker, here's 3 mistakes all entrepreneurs make that keep them riding on the revenue roller coaster. And, number 1 was, and number 2 was the throwaway, and number 3 was the big kahuna, and then get up, go to the back of the room, buy my thing. And I had DVDs because online courses did not exist.
Yeah.
And there are people who are like, I still have your DVDs and I want them to like burn them. They're terrible. Okay. But anyway, so that's where I was, and I was doing very well. I was doing multiple 6 figures in sales in my local market. And suddenly I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go online. And I hired a coach to help me do like a big, like the Jeff Walker launch formula. I hired web designers. I hired a copywriter. I paid like $25,000 for copywriting and all this tech stuff. And then I was supposed to manage all of it. And Mia, it was the worst experience of my life.
Yeah.
Because for a number of reasons, it's very transactional. Number 1, and I'm just too relational to do it. Number 2, it involved spreadsheets, multiple spreadsheets, multiple columns, making sure this person had this on time, so this person could do this, so that person could do this, so I'm like managing all these people, and I'm like, did you get it done? Did you get it done? Nothing. I'm a high D on the disc. I'm like, did you say you were going to do it? Do it, deliver it, and be quiet, right? Like, just get it done.
Yeah.
And so that whole process then culminated in me contracting a near-death condition. And like when it came time to bolt into the second round of the launch, I didn't have the physical, emotional, cognitive stamina to do it, but I tried anyway because, you know,
You're invested at that point.
do harder, do more. Like I'd already paid 6 figures to the whole for the process. So I was like, I'm gonna like, and my website got put on a corrupted server. And so like right at the beginning of the launch, the partners that were mailing for me were like, this is coming up as a malicious site, and we couldn't figure it out. And I was gonna like move the launch. I was just gonna move it to a different server and then relaunch in 3 days. And my coach was like, no, just write it out. It'll get fixed. It was a cluster. I ended up like $40,000 in debt. So, okay. So guess what I know? I know a whole lot about launching. Yeah. I know a whole lot about great copy. I know a whole lot about building websites and funnels. And I know that the big 3-week marathon is not the way I want to build my business. And so I don't like, it was an expensive MBA.
Yeah.
But it was a discovery that, okay, that's not how I want to build my business. And then fortunately the pandemic ended and now I can build my business the way I like.
There's a lot of like doing what you're told to do because you don't know. You don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So important message to new business owners. If you can't run it and grow with it as you run it, as Virginia forecasted to your future for us already, then don't run it that way. Right? I say over and over and over about how busy my life is and how I'm managing the robustness of what my business is, because I've leveraged my business to fit my lifestyle versus my lifestyle to serve my business, right? And in that way, I can grow my capacity and my business will grow as a result, and then I'll stretch with it and we'll go back and forth with each other. A lot like parenting, as you spoke to. We don't know what the child is going to be like as we go. And we have to continuously adapt to observe and meet their needs at where they're at and stretch ourselves as a parent and show up for them, not for ourselves. So a business is a very mutual relationship in that way. And when you're starting out, the simpler, the better.
Amen.
You know? Like, you got something to sell? What is it? What do you have to say about it? How do I buy it?
And the easiest thing to start with, to be honest, so for somebody who's just starting up, right, the easiest thing to do is to sell a $2,000 program to 12 people and deliver it. I teach my clients, tell you what, you're just starting out, never done this before, right? I'm like, do the Alex Hormozy. Look, it's a $2,000 program. The first 5 people get to do it for $500. The next 5 people get to do it for $1,000. The next 5 people get to do it for $1,500. The next 5 people get to do it for the full price, right? And so at the end of the day, then you've validated your offer, you've validated your process, you have testimonial evidence that things are great. And that totally works. I was talking with a potential client who said, I just don't have the money to pay you. And I said, great. So I'm going to tell you how to go earn the money, and then then you can come and work with me. And she said, why would you do that? Don't you think if I go earn the money that I won't pay you? And I said, no, I think if you go earn the money, you're going to be like, what else could this woman teach me? That's what I think. And that's exactly when I first started out, there was a woman named Callan Rush, who that was the very first coach I ever hired. And she presented at an eWomen Network conference. And I was like, well, maybe if this thing's $297, I'll invest in it. Okay, well, maybe, because I knew she was going to sell. All right, well, maybe if it's like $397, I'll invest in it. Maybe, okay, if it's $497, I could maybe. It was $29.97. I thought I was going to roll. I was like, oh my God, I want this so bad. So I wrote the check and I said, don't cash it because I have to go figure out how to make the money. And she said, I'll show you how to make the money. I'll help you figure it out. We had 3 phone calls. I did exactly what she said. And I made enough money for her to cash the check to buy the plane ticket to Vancouver and to stay in Vancouver in one of those high-end expensive Canadian hotels, right? And I got an upgrade for $25 a night to the concierge floor so that I could eat at the little concierge place on the concierge floor because I had no money for food. Because that was all I had. And but so that was like, my business is like, yeah, sure. If you have the money or have the credit or have the ability, I'd rather you go ahead and get started that way. But if you literally don't have a credit card, can't get a credit card, whatever, you can't, Canadian, like being Canadian, you know, people are like, look, I'm not American. We don't have 0% cards here in Canada. Yeah. Nobody writes us, nobody gives us free money here. Are you kidding me? So, you know, we have to be flexible about that. But the easiest way is sell it. I told this woman, I was like, sell it for $500 and tell them that at the end of 12 weeks, if they think it's worth it, you'd like them to pay you the rest. And if they think it wasn't worth it, you want to know why, so you can make it better for the next group. So that's what she did.
Yeah. So then in that, you get to test yourself too and show up for what you say you want to do. Right. Yep. And if it is a smaller group, it might be less intimidating, but it's equally important. And you have to be disciplined and step into who it is you say you are and execute on that. So you get to, again, grow yourself as you grow your business. Symbiotically. Super.
That's what builds your confidence, right?
100%.
So many people come out. And here's another thing that I'll tell you, just super business tip for people that are new. We have this tendency to price things low because we think that's going to get us more clients. It actually deters people from working with you because cheap isn't good, right? Like a cheap watch from the dollar store is not the same thing as a Rolex. And people want quality. They want to know that you're going to deliver a quality result. So one of the things that I tell people is price it at 10K and offer it at 90% off in exchange for promotional material. Like, I'm going to need case studies. I'm going to need video testimonial. I'm going to need written recommendations on LinkedIn in order to get this to go. And I'm going to need collaboration, and I'm going to need your feedback. And I need you to understand that when there's chaos or something didn't work or it's not quite right, that you're going to openly give me that feedback. So I'm not going to charge you full price, but this program, when I get done with the beta, is 10K.
Yeah.
And that way you set yourself up to believe that this is a 10K program or a 5K program or a 25K program. But now you're charging a smaller number, but at the end, sometimes I've had people say, I just want to give you the 10K.
Right.
This is so great. You helped me make $300,000. I no sweat for me to give you the 10K. I really want to, in fact, can I give you 20? Right? Nothing better than that.
Yeah. And then you're mutually invested. So this is the relationship building piece, which is a great segue into that, because already there's a lot of themes of being a person of integrity, being a person of service, and being a person who's willing to invest in a client in order for them to grow and be who they are. Because what is somebody going to say about Virginia or listener or Mia if that is the customer service that they're receiving? You really believe in your product. You really believe in the transformation. This person really wants it. They receive the benefit. Now they're going to start to talk about you on your behalf while giving you all that collateral willingly, right? But then doing it for you on repeat outside of it coming straight to you. And then that's going to take you into this referral business. So take us through what Master Connectors does and how we already have the skills to find clients. So one thing, you guys, listeners, that I was hearing right before Virginia and I met was, if you can make a friend, you can find a client. So right now, how many people do we have access to in our lives?
It's super interesting because what most people don't realize is you have two ways to, all right, let me back up. There are three things that you must concentrate on only as an entrepreneur. One, lead flow. How will you get eyeballs, ears, and be able to have enough people to look at your stuff. And there's lots of ways to do that. You can try to go viral on social media. You can email market, you can lead swap, you can webinar swap. There's a million ways to do it, but you've got to figure out, how am I going to get eyeballs? The second thing is, what am I offering? What offers will I make? And contrary to popular belief, I got to tell you, the ascension model is dead. So I'll sell them 97, then they'll buy 497, then they'll buy 997, then they'll buy 19. That model is dead. Start at the top, deliver a result, and take them the whole way on the journey. Make the payment plan attached to the results, make the payment plan attached to the time, whatever, but you set that program fee and you set it according to what is the value of the result that you're going to drive to during your 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24-month engagement. That is the model that has emerged, and that's the model that's working. So what are you going to offer people? And then the final thing is, how will you deliver your product? What is your customer journey? And the way I look at it, it's an upside down pyramid. You're going to die when I tell you this. Do you know how much time I spend delivering in my business?
Amount of time.
3 hours a week. I deliver service 3 hours out of my 40-hour work week. My work week is, it doesn't work like I'm lead generation and then making offers and then delivering and then I'm lead. And it's sort of like, I did a lead gen exercise. Holy crap, I'm making offers. Like, I just did an event and I booked 41 discovery calls. So for the next 2 weeks, all I'm doing is discovery calls. I'm not making offers. I'm doing discovery calls.
You did making offers.
I am making offers. I am saying, so what do you think? Right. But I'm not doing lead gen right now. So some of the lead gen you can put on autopilot, but at the end of the day, you got to be working those 3 things. And delivery is where most people want to spend most of their time. And it's where you should spend the least of your time if you want to actually build cash flow. So that's number 1. And then realize that there are 2 ways to do lead flow. You can use other people's networks, your network, so you can network, use people, or you can pay. That's it. You can use people or you can pay. And so if you're newer, let me tell you that if you're trying to do paid traffic and you're not hiring an agency and you're not paying an agency somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 a month to generate your lead flow for you, and you're thinking, are you kidding? I'm not even making that much money, right? Then you have, your only choice is people. Once you've decided, I'm going to go the people route. Then you want to think about, all right, I have 2 funnels. Most people think there's one. There's the client funnel, right? There's a prospect, then you give them an offer, then they become a customer or a client, then you try to turn them into a raving fan, and hopefully you cross your fingers, maybe they'll refer you, which they don't. The statistics are 85% of satisfied customers say they would refer you, but only 4% actually do. So 3 out of every 100 customers will actually follow through on a referral because someone says, oh, your hair looks great. Who did it? Can I get their number? Right? That's how those referrals happen. They're not proactive. So there's another funnel, which is your networking funnel. I call it your Nexus funnel. And your Nexus funnel are the people that are going to partner with you to help you build your business. And you are going to reciprocate with your resources, knowledge, and networks to help them grow their business. And so the way this works is, and I'm going to go back to my contract sales days, right? Because I think the example makes things very clear. So a lot of people are like, everybody with hair is a great client for the hairdresser. Anybody with a backbone or a spine or, spinal column is great for a chiropractor. We cannot sell that way, because if we sell to anybody and everybody, we are going to get nobody. And that's, the more narrow you are, the fewer clients you need to serve and the more money you can charge. Think about a doctor. A general practitioner has to see a lot of patients. A neurosurgeon does 3 surgeries a week.
Right. And makes more.
And makes more money and has more time.
Specialist.
Okay? They're a specialist. So when I was doing this contract services, I had students all the students, kindergarten through senior year in high school. Every district had a contract value, let's say $2,000, and I was going to deliver 40 hours of service for $2,000. There were other districts that had a $1,200 allotment. I had to deliver the same 40 hours for $1,200. So number one, I was like, okay, right fit district, where's all the money? Who have the high contract values? So I was looking for who can pay me the most, right? Yeah. Who can pay me the most for the same work? So that's the first thing you have to ask yourself. Of all the people I want to serve, who can pay me the most for the same work?
So I want to jump in on this and pull it out a little bit, because I love what you're saying. And the idea is, you could serve 100 people for $10 each, and you may never even interact with them or really get to deepen yourself or the value of your offer. Or you can serve 2 or 3 people for $30 each and have that deeper engagement and that more fulfilling give and receive cycle happening, right? And is it going to be easier to find 3 people frequently or 100 people frequently, right? So this is really quality over quantity, and deciding what is the business model that you really want to be running.
Yeah. And one of the big challenges, I mean, I've done about 17 of these 41 calls, right?
Okay.
And every person that I talk about and I say, what do you want to do? Okay. I hate to say it. They're like, I just want to help the broken busted. And I'm like, okay, that's a philanthropy. Like, that's a charity. The way you have to think about this is, I exist to move money. I exist to accelerate the velocity of the flow of energy in the universe, and money is a representation of that flow. All right. So it's just a stand-in for the value of the product or service or outcome that you're going to achieve. Now, there's another part of this. So now I've figured out, like, okay, my right fit client has money. So we'll start there, right? Yeah. So we'll start there. Now, when I was doing the Sylvan thing, here's what I knew. I was going to get paid for the hours actually physically delivered. So which do you think would be better? A third grader who's a year or 2 behind in their reading skills and has nowhere else to go because they're 7, and they think that a granola bar and a ring pop is like, that has made their day? Or do I want to try to get the junior or senior who'd rather be out with his friends, cutting school, playing hoops, running with the gangs, doing all that stuff? I'm like, well, I can't get completion on those kids, nor can I get results from those kids because they won't show up and they're too far behind. Now, I will tell you, I did not strand those kids. I met with them at a donut shop, and I held a study hall at a local donut shop and helped all of the ones that caved. They were all gang members, helped all the ones that cared. Yeah. And then I did that for free myself, and they sent me all their siblings. Okay. So yes, I even networked with gangs. All right. So, but the bottom line was, I said, okay, of all students, of the big category students, who are the lucrative students? The lucrative students were 3rd graders. So I only asked for 3rd graders. Now, if a 4th grader showed up or a 7th grader showed up, I took them. But I made my entire program so juicy and so sexy and so attractive to every 3rd grader. And I made those 3rd graders so happy, and they got such good results that they came back year after year, told their friends, their moms were happy. Their moms were like, you're going to that program, to the 6th grader, and like, cracking down and making those kids show up. I had the highest capture value on those contracts of any provider anywhere, so much so that the state came in and thought I was faking my records because I had such a high capture rate. And I said, did you notice that I'm only going, like 80% of my kids are 3rd graders? Where are they going? Yeah. Right. And they were like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Right. So I had to kind of defend my results with my marketing plan. So you're
going after the primed, right? So this is where all this talk about niche marketing, but you've really clarified it that if you are find the ones that want you that are going to be easy to work with, right? There has to be that again, that reciprocal desire between the two of you rather than this chasing of
Absolutely.
clients that maybe you think you want, right?
Well, and the ones that don't
Well,
show up, you know, in the coaching
yeah.
world, you play, you know, oh, my life happened, my this happened,
Mhm.
I'm like, guys, you know, it's when people contract with me, the commitment is they show up. And if they don't show up, then I just stop working with them. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to chase you
Yeah.
down. You have to want it. I'll hold the container of desire for you and remind you of your desires. But you know, we're all grown up and my motherhood days are over. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a grandmother and I don't even grandmother my 7-year-old like that. Right.
Mhm.
So number one, you've got to decide who's your right fit client, who has the money to pay you. And if
Mhm.
you're thinking you're going to help people that don't have money, well, that's philanthropy. And that's totally cool. Build that into your business and
Yeah.
do some philanthropy like I did. I went to the
Yeah.
donut shop
The donut
on
shop. Yeah.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and I sat at the donut shop with the kids that were in the gangs that wanted to get ahead, wanted to make a life for themselves. And I taught them I helped them with their homework and I helped them pass their tests and I helped them get what they wanted. But that was on me because that was the goodness of my soul.
Mhm.
That wasn't that. So that's number one. Number two is your messaging. In order to have the right message, we need to know what's up in our client's head. We tend to think that I should just tell you that I'm certified in hypnotherapy and human design. And I also have an ICF certification. And I've been trained by Callan and Bobby and Sally and Sue. And I have all these trainings and whatever. And your client doesn't flipping care any more than you care which tools the plumber used to fix the leaky toilet.
That's right.
All you like, if your plumber, if your handyman came to your house and insisted that you take a tour of his truck and look at all his tools, and he told you about all the tools and what all the tools were for and what they could fit, wouldn't you be like, why are you wasting my time?
Yeah.
Fix the
Fix
leak.
the toilet.
That's
Yeah.
all I want is I
Yeah.
just want a not leaking toilet.
Yeah.
So sell me the not leaking toilet. Don't sell me the plumber's wrench and the little purple freaking glue
Well,
stuff that you
that's
put
the
on.
worthiness, right? Like, look at what I did to make myself good enough to give you what you're looking for, versus you already are good enough and you step into that empowered state and know that what you have will create a transformation because whether or not you've had a client, you have life experiences that you can leverage off of.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying, please don't hear me
Yeah,
wrong here.
totally.
I'm not saying that your degrees and your trainings are irrelevant. I'm saying that's the last thing you tell somebody about after you've determined you're going to work together, to explain to them why you're so confident this is a great decision. Right? That's not it's not part of your marketing messaging. It's the end of your sales call. So people are talking about it too soon. It comes at the end of a sales conversation. So getting your trusted messaging is about understanding what's in your people's head, so that when they read your copy, when they hear you speak, they're like, oh my gosh, that's me.
Mhm.
They're talking about me. I have that problem. I want that result. That sounds great, right? I help solo entrepreneurs add $250,000 to their revenue by leveraging the power of their connections, because most of them are sick and tired of riding the revenue roller coaster, networking for nothing, and wondering where the heck the next client is coming from. Okay. So like, that's, people are like, okay, ride the revenue roller coaster. Got it. Sick and tired of networking and getting nothing from going to all these stupid events that I'm going to. It's a waste of time. Right. And the last one is like, I'm sick and tired of wondering if I'm ever going to get a client. Okay, great. So those are my problems. What do I teach them to do? I'll teach you how to connect with the right people, cultivate the relationships, and create collaborations that create cash.
Mhm. Yeah.
So what is it that you do and what is it that they want? Well, how do I know that that's what people want? Guess what, Mia? I talk to them.
Yeah.
Hey, when it comes to using networking to grow your business, what do you love? What do you hate? What are you frustrated with? What do you wish it looked like? What do you wish you knew how to do? Right? I asked them, they told me. That's how I know what to say. So that's the second part of it, is really understand that in order for you to be a trusted advisor, a trusted authority, they need to hear you speak their words, not your words, their words, right? The chiropractor will tell you all day long that all your problems are about subluxations. Yippee-ki-yay, I did not wake up this morning thinking, oh, I should go get my subluxations. But I woke up this morning going, God, I can't turn my head, right? I should see the chiropractor. So it's got to be about them.
Yeah.
And that's the second thing. The third thing is figuring out who is going to be in your referral nexus. And those are who are people that are business adjacent to you that serve that right fit client who can pay you. So they have an audience of people that are saying like, I don't need referrals right now, Virginia, but I really would love to learn how to create a lead magnet. And so when I promote Kimberly White Camp, they all go to that and I get a little commission, right? She pays me the cost of client acquisition because that's how she's finding clients, and clients cost money to acquire. Every business has to accept that as a reality. So you got to build out that team. Okay, cool, right? Well, not every good looking guy that I'm super attracted to who speaks my language should be my husband.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is it that I need to do? Well, I need to know how to train them up. I need to know how to screen them to make sure that they're right fit partners.
Yeah.
And if they are a right fit partner, I need to give them the tools that they need to be able to speak competently about my product or service. I need to train you what to say. So that little intromercial that I did, all my partners can be like, oh, you should meet Virginia. She helps people like you add $250,000 to their revenue stream, because most of them are like, are you sick and tired of, are you sick and tired of, because she's going to help you, blah, blah, blah. Does that sound like a person you want to meet? They all know how to do that. I've trained them up, and then I've tracked the results. So the ones that are making lots of money for me, I do above and beyond recognition for them. I might give them bigger stages. I might do more mailings for them. I might buy them a cabin on the marketer's cruise. Who knows what I'm going to do for them when they're bringing me $60, $70, $80,000 in revenue, right? So I have to track it to know who's producing and who's not, and put people at the level of, like, have the expectation of their performance at the level that they perform. And that's what's in that blueprint, right? Is that whole picture. So I did all that when I was doing that education thing. I got people together. I created consortiums and collaborations where churches and community centers and healthcare organizations all came together, and we all figured out what our resources were, and we pooled resources, and we ended up everybody saved time and money because everybody had excess network, resource, connections. Problems were getting solved faster. And because I was a problem solver and I was helping everybody solve all their other problems, they were like, how can I help you? And I'm like, third graders.
Yeah.
I need third graders.
Yeah.
So when you become that person that is the problem solver for everyone else, you have enough influence, and then you have to be ready when someone says, so Mia, what can I do for you? What do we usually say when someone says, Mia,
I don't know.
I'm good. It's fine.
Okay.
Terrific.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I never get anything. I give, and I never receive. Well, number one, do you know what you want to receive? What do you want to receive? What are you asking for in the universe? What are you expecting in the universe? What do you want in the universe? It's really funny. I have a friend who's kind of struggling with their business. And they said, I think I want to sell it, or it's just going to, like, I can't run it anymore. Like, it's out of control. Like, I don't have enough skills to run it, and I don't know what to do. And I was like, well, maybe we could sell it. And she's like, oh, I wouldn't even know where to find a buyer or whatever. I go, it's fine. I'll manifest it.
Yeah.
In 3 days, I've had 3 people go, hey, I'm looking to buy a business for about X amount of money. Do you know anybody? And I'm like,
right here,
right? Because when you know what you want, these are people that called me that I haven't seen since before the pandemic.
Yeah.
They're pre-pandemic connections. And they're saying, hey, we should network together. Hey, I think I saw you at the ice cream place. I was like, wasn't me, because I don't eat ice cream. And they're like, well, we should have breakfast anyway, right? Stuff. So you just have to know what you're looking for, know what you want. And then when someone says, how can I help you? Say, well, could you get me this? Do you have any access to this? I wonder if you have access to that. I'm in need of this. And maybe they know it, or maybe they have it. Maybe they know somebody who does, or maybe they say no. But if they say no, then what? You're exactly in the same place that you were. Nothing bad just happened to you. The world did not come from an end, and you are not a worthless worm. You simply asked a person and they gave you a no. That's about it. So that's
but you knew what you wanted, and you took another opportunity to express receiving. Again, if we're going to serve, we have to be able to receive in exchange for it. 100%. Like you say, it's the personal accountability of showing up and walking through the walk in order to become that person and to grow and hold that business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I also think there's one last thing that I'll just bring to this, because, you know, I want this to be as packed with value for your listener as possible. A lot of times people are networking up the wrong way. So if you have a list size of 200 or 300 people and you're super excited to meet, I don't know, Doug Sandler, who has 50,000 people on his list, and he's the #1 business podcast and whatever, and he has 1 million listeners. It's going to be kind of hard for you to be like, would you promote for me? Because the answer is probably no, right? So number one, if you're going to network up, you want to network like a little bit up. Like I have 300, so I'm going to find some people with 500. And then I'm going to build my list to 500. And then I'm going to network people that have, 700. So you have to inch your way up, number one. Number two, when you're in the presence of people that you want to network up with, keep this in mind. You may not have a stage that they want, or a product or a service that they want, and you should never pitch. You should never pitch Jack Canfield your product or service. Okay. Like you just never should. You should never pitch John Maxwell product or service. But you do have 2 eyes and you do have 2 ears. And if you watch that speaker or you watch that person, you can notice that their water glass is empty and show up with a water glass. You can notice that their shoe is untied and make a point of saying, hey, I just want to let you know, your shoe is untied, right? I had a really interesting experience a number of years ago. The #1 distributor in send out cards, his name is Jordan Adler, wrote a book called Beach Money. And he was speaking at a conference. There were about 5,000 people at this conference. Jordan is a real introvert, like a super, super introvert. And he's up there and he's speaking, and I can tell that this is taking energy from him. So he comes to the back of the room and they're selling his books at the back of the table. And then everyone's lining up to get Jordan's autograph. And I'm watching this man, and I'm just watching him. I'm watching him die. Like he's dying. And so I walk up to him and I go, this looks like a double shot of espresso moment. And he goes, dry. He goes, yes, cappuccino dry. Right? Like that's it. So I go down the escalator to the Starbucks and I get like a venti, gazillion shot cappuccino dry, double cup it, like put one of those little sleevey things on it because it's really hot. And I walk up and I just touch his hand and I put the coffee in his hand, and he leans back and he goes, give me your phone. He goes, hold the cup, give me your phone. So I'm like, okay. So I give him my phone, and he puts his contact information in my phone and says, when this is over, call me. So the thing is over. And I text him, I said, I'd just love to have you on my podcast. He's like, great. So he's one of my earliest episodes on my podcast. And from there, he sends me a thank you that says, hey, if you're ever in Vegas, I'll give you a helicopter ride, because he's a helicopter pilot. And I'm like, yeah, right. But anyway, so I end up sending him back some really good espresso coffee from Starbucks, right? So we send him some coffee. Then during the pandemic, I just couldn't stand being here anymore. So I flew to Las Vegas, because everything is outside in Las Vegas. You can walk around and whatever. And I was like, hey, there's a Starbucks in the Aria, and he lives in the Waldorf. So I was like, hey, can I buy you a coffee at this, at the Aria? And he's like, yeah, okay. So we met. And since then we've been really, really, really fast friends. And it cost me coffee. But it was noticing. It was noticing. Right. And then not asking him really for anything that was gonna put him out. that made that difference, right? And so I just saw him last week, and he had 45 minutes, drove in, we had pizza together, and I don't have it on. He gave me a beach money necklace, and he's like, "There's 6 people who have these, and now you're one of them." So, you know, so those are the kinds of relationships that you can build. And this was 10 years ago. I didn't have a podcast. I had 4 episodes, you know, like I didn't have anything. I was nobody. I was nobody.
Yeah, but the subtleties of the showing up for them and not trying to be like, oh, you know, I want your autograph too, but I'll come back later because I can see there's a lot of people, or, you know, trying to stand out in some way, notice me, a subtle way of really serving from the heart with genuine care, human to human, made a huge impact. And so that's a beautiful piece in the networking where you're doing it to do it, not to like try and get to something. No ulterior motive, right?
Like
Just
worst thing I could have done would have been like, hey, I have this product from Nancy's Nutraceuticals that could give you some energy. Like, you know, I was like, I'd seen him drinking Starbucks. I knew he liked Starbucks. Like, you gotta be observant. You gotta be observant.
Amazing. So, Virginia, jam-packed, so much value in here. And I definitely can guarantee that you know, a lot of listeners are going to walk away feeling a lot more empowered and ready to grow. So you guys, you're going to jump into Virginia's freebie and take a look at that handout, and then reach out to her. She's got a Facebook group where you can go hang out with her, and she's active on LinkedIn. And just learn how to master the skills that you already have. If you can make a friend, you can find a client, and you already have a lot of people at your fingertips. So trust yourself a little bit and get empowered by networking up.
Right. And I do have a really great opportunity for people in my tribe to network as well. So once you download the Business by Referral Blueprint, you'll be in my cycle. And then the third Thursday of every month at 3:30 Central US time, we do a networking event called Get Connected, Stay Connected. So we do some breakout rooms. We have some fun speakers that do what I call knowledge bombs. They're little 7-minute tidbits on a really laser focused topic that help people solve a problem, which is really great. And we hang out, and we ask meaningful questions that help people get to know each other. It's not your standard get in a room and pitch.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah, perfect. Okay, we'll share all of that. Thank you, Virginia. It's a pleasure to know you and get connected, and I look forward to staying connected.
Amen, sister.
Have a great day.